The word annuity is used in many different ways. If you win the lottery, you can select an annuity payout. If you're injured, the insurance company will offer you an annuity payout for a period of time, like 20 years or even the rest of your life. Your company retirement pension plan can even offer you an annuity. And just to make it all very interesting and tricky, your financial advisor can sell you an annuity. It can all seem complicated, but in reality, all an annuity is a guarantee of an income by an insurance company. Most of the time, the income is current, like that lottery payment, but the income can also be delayed for a future date. The best known annuity is from Uncle Sam, Social Security. It's a guarantee to pay an income either now or at some point in the future. And even though there are several different kinds of annuities, the only kind we're going to talk about here is the kind sold by an advisor to help you in retirement. Annuities are only offered through life insurance companies. Even though it's a life insurance company, it's not life insurance. Life insurance requires some kind of medical underwriting, like a blood sample, medical questions, and examination of medical records. Life insurance is designed to create an estate at death, and annuities are designed to spend an estate to create income while you're alive. But the guarantee comes from the insurance company. So current tax law allows for growth inside of the annuity to grow tax deferred and only taxed as income when you take it out. So for the privilege of not paying current taxes and delaying those taxes, the government restricts our access to a retirement annuity until you're 59 and a half years old, just like your IRA, without triggering a federal penalty for early withdrawal. As with any investment, there are pros and there are cons, and the same is true with annuities. But before we begin, I want you to consider the automobile. When it first came out, there were levers to steer. There were no seat belts and no windshield, not even a steering column. And they all had those fancy and stylish goggles. And after a couple automobiles crashed into each other, they began to include safety features. The first seat belt was installed. It was a rope that went around your waist. Of course, advancements have continued, and today there are airbags everywhere. There's a backup rear camera. There's automatic braking, sensors galore, and you can push a button and talk to a satellite. So how does this fit with our annuity discussion? Well, when annuities first came out, they had little safety features. They were expensive, and they often failed to meet their promises. And like the first automobiles, the first annuities would never pass today's crash standards, but the current ones will. And they offer some wonderful guarantees. And although you can't push a button on your annuity to talk to a satellite, they do have many improvements. So let's talk about some. The upside. Many of today's annuities offer guaranteed return of your principal, lifetime income you cannot outlive, guaranteed step-up value to your loved ones at your death, if the current market value is lower than the guaranteed step-up value, guaranteed increasing income that keeps pace with inflation, no cost or commission to make changes or transfer within the annuity. And one of my favorite, while the annuity is growing, you make tax-free transfers within investments. You don't pay capital gain tax. And the downside, with any programs, there are some downsides. When you have guarantees, you generally have higher expenses and fees to pay for those guarantees. You really need to pay attention to this, because any money you earn but don't keep, it's just like you didn't earn it in the first place. You typically have a surrender period with annuities. So if you withdraw money early, you're going to be penalized. And if you pull money out before you're 59 and a half, there will normally be a federal penalty as well. So this may be in addition to the company penalty mentioned earlier. Any increase in value is taxed as ordinary income when you withdraw the money. There are no capital gains or losses available with annuities. So just like an IRA investment, any gain is taxed at the rate you were at when you withdraw that gain in retirement. But you really need to have some caution here. So if you pull out before the surrender period is over and before you're 59 and a half, you will pay a company penalty and a federal penalty and ordinary income tax on any of the gain. And you will even have to pay taxes on the penalty amount. So be certain that money that you invest in annuities is long-term money, and you have plenty of access to liquidity in other areas of your portfolio if you should need money before you're 59 and a half. Well, many of the people that I speak to recognize that the stock market is a wealth creator, but there are periods of wealth deflator as well. They realize over time that the market goes up and they want to participate in that. But on the other hand, they fear that the market downturns will keep them from participating in traditional investments, so they turn to the traditional bank products. I consider this investor to be on the fence. They want the upside potential without the downside risk. Well, an annuity could be an excellent fit for this type of market-leery client and get them off the fence onto the side of the stock market. Consider the following analogy. I want you to picture for me the Golden Gate Bridge in California. And you're on this bridge. And without even thinking about it, you drive the speed limit, or if you're like me, you drive even faster. Even if the weather should change, the wind blows and it starts to rain, you might slow down a bit, but you're going to cross it anyways. Well, now, in your mind's eye, take off the guardrails. That's it. Rip them right off. Let them fall down to the ground or the water below. Now, you still have the road. It's still as strong as it was before, but there are no guardrails. So without the guardrails, will you still cross it? And if you cross it, will you still go the speed limit? Or will you look over the sides and see below? Many times, people that I speak with view the volatility of the stock market as this bridge without guardrails. Instinctively, they know that the stock market goes up and investors do make money in the market. But these people have also heard the horror stories of the market crashes and people who've lost money. Clients would think differently about the stock market if they knew that there was insurance against these unlikely crashes. Just like the bridge, if the guardrails were up, then they would think much differently about the bridge than if the guardrails were down. Well, how would you like to have the upside of the market with guardrails to protect you against a market downturn? I have found some people will point to the increased expenses and decide against this potential solution and just end up buying CDs. They'll argue that the extra costs are not worth it. I don't know about you, but I've never hit a guardrail. It is possible that some of the guarantees of the annuity will never be used either. That's true. But perhaps the concern is short-sighted if the alternative meant that you didn't participate in growth-oriented investments because of fear of falling off. As history tells us, over time, growth-oriented investments far outpay CDs, even with the fees associated with annuities. Have you ever hit a guardrail? Well, Cindy's husband, Clark, died, leaving her his 401k. She dedicated this money for their 2 sons. And if at all possible, Cindy was never planning on touching this money. as she didn't need it and hopefully never would. Additionally, Cindy did not want to risk the principal in any way. So she was planning on rolling it over from one CD to the next until she died. Well, we discussed the principal guaranteed annuities and the feature that they offer. This one offered 100% guarantee to her sons that they will at least get the principal at her death. If the value of the account increased, then they would receive an even higher amount. There was no downside to this decision. So she moved her money into the annuity. She selected the balanced portfolio. Take a look at the coffee cups discussion we had earlier. And is tickled pink knowing that the money can grow with the market, less internal fees, and is guaranteed by the insurance company to her sons at death at no less than the amount she put in. She said, "I like my guardrails, Shaq." Well, annuities can be very tricky investments, and there is a lot that's not covered here. So make certain that you work with a financial advisor that not only knows when you might need one, but also knows how to properly explain to you the pros and cons of annuities. Like any investments, you have to look at the underlying company, you have to look at the guarantees, and you have to read the prospectus carefully to make sure that it's part of your risk tolerance. But as you put together your financial plan, do consider annuities as you continue to build your legacy. They are part of a well thought out plan.